So what's your imaging about the AI? So what are some applications of AI? So I try to give you some very basic examples. So first one, when you hear about the AI, so you try to think about a robot, right? So it means that if you use the AI, means that you try to develop some robot that can help you to try to perform some tasks daily, and then can boost your process. And also another example of the AI that you can hear. So for example, this one. So this one you can see a car, and for this car, so this is not a normal car. So for this one we call a auto self-driving car. And with this car means that the car can drive by itself. The truck can drive by itself, and for this car, it's already integrate some AI models and some AI algorithms inside that can help the car can drive by itself. And then for the third one about the artificial intelligence, so you can see about the Google Translate. So this one is a very you can see very easy. You can see in your daily life. So this is a Google Translate. So you use it every day, right? And actually in Google Translate, they already integrate some AI model. And for that one, it can help you to identify the language, and then they try to translate it automatically for you. So for this one, is also another application of AI. And then for the last one, so this one is a very more familiar with you. For this one, we call the this one when you try to use every day you try to use the Facebook, right? And like the Instagram, so try to upload a figure. You upload one photo in your platform, and then the Facebook actually they can identify. They can try to automatically detect the face, your face, or maybe your friend's face. It can detect your face, so it means that they already integrate some AI model, and then for that for the talk today about genomics. And nowadays you can see there are a lot of companies they try to apply AI in genomics. So for example, you can see about the deep genomics, about the desktop genetics here, or even the Google AI. There are a lot of companies, a lot of industry now they try to move to they try to use the AI and then apply into genomics, and then they try to create a lot of applications, a lot of products on this field. And so after about the AI and also AI in genomics, so just a brief introduction. So if in case you want to have a definition of the AI, so you can try to use some try to use some definitions like the AI is the simulation of the human intelligence and in machines, and then they try to use the program and then to think like the humans. So the computer can think like the humans and also the mimic their actions. And then they try to help the people, help the humans. They try to learn, try to solve any problems like the learning and also the problem solving. So there are, about when you talk about the AI, there are different branches of AI. First one for the first one is that you can see in this branch. So when you talk about the AI, the first one you need to understand is the machine learning. So it is a hot term nowadays. So machine learning means that the machine can learn. And then the second one, natural language processing. Natural language processing is like a model that can help you to automatically translate the language, like you use the Google Translate. And for that Google Translate, actually they use the natural language processing. And the others like the expert system, like the computer vision, speech, and also the robot. This is actually also a branch of AI. However, to talk about the AI in bioinformatics or genomics today, I try to focus on the machine learning and also the natural language processing. about the machine learning. Actually, machine learning is also the term of the definition of machine learning. This is similar to the AI, means they try to provide systems the ability to learn and also the improve from the experience without being programmed. So means that you even don't need program. The machine can learn and then can generate, can solve any problem. And here, why you need to use machine learning? Machine learning. So current. So this is on the left side is the traditional one. So in traditional, so many people when they try to study a problem, you can see they try to write some rules and then they try to evaluate the rule and then they try to launch an applications. And during that time, we also have analysis to analyze some errors. And also, so when we move to machine learning, so there's the difference between the machine learning and traditional programming here. So in machine learning, so you can see in this one, you still study problem, and then you try to here, and you try to replace the right rules here, and then now you try to train the machine learning algorithms. And here, you can see here is the step that we try to input data. You can see about the data you try to input into the machine learning algorithms, and then you try to launch the applications. And because so you can see the data is very important in machine learning, and that makes machine learning different with traditional program. And this is the slide to show about why we can why we need to use the machine learning, because now we have data, the machine can learn from the data and then try to produce the outcome. And this is the idea of the machine learning. This is a branch of AI. So for example, here you want to create a model to recognize the face. For example, here, so you have a training data. For this data, this is the data you try to provide to the machine, and then the machine can learn that data. And then after they learn that data, they try to produce the predictive model. And after that, you can use that predictive model. You can try to predict any future, maybe entry now information. For example, in the futures, you have one face, and then they try to predict whether the face is similar to some faces in the training data, and then they try to produce the outcome. So that one we call the prediction, and that is the idea of the machine learning. They try to learn from data, and then they try to use that data to predict the outcomes and then the future object. And when we talk about the machine learning, so there are different kinds of machine learning. So this one just an overview about all of the branches of machine learning. Like you have supervised learning and also unsupervised learning and also even reinforcement learning. And mostly in the genomics field, so mostly we can use the supervised learning and unsupervised learning. So why we say supervised and unsupervised? Supervised means that you try to provide the label, so it means the knowledge to the computer, and the computer can learn. And it's unsupervised, so you even don't need to label the data, so you provide all of the data to computer, and then the computer can help you to generate the features automatically. So this is the difference. And I try to show you some how you can define some different problem in the supervised learning. For example, here is an example of supervised learning in machine learning. For example, you have some subjects. Here is in medicine field. For example, you have some subjects here, and then you want to create a model. And for that model, for example, the model can predict whether the patients or the subjects who has diabetes or non-diabetes. And for this one, we call a binary classification problem, because we just want to classify between two different data, and this one is the binary classification. And when try to move, when in case you want to use more classes, more labels, so for this one it can be transformed into multi-classification. And for this one, multi-class or multi-class classification. For example, here you want to create a machine learning model to classify the fruit. So you try to insert the fruits into the model, and then your model can predict whether the food, the insert food, the input is the apple, orange, or also the mango. So for this one is the multi-classifications problem in machine learning. And Yes, it's different. And for this one, so who are already familiar with the regression models, and this one in machine learning, you even also have the regression model and a regression machine learning that can help you to predict. Now the outcomes is not only the categorical. So now you try to predict the number. For example, you try to predict the height and the weight of a people. For this one, we call regression model. And then for example, here another example is that you insert some characteristics of the house, and then you can create a model that can predict the price of the house. So for this one is also regression model. And maybe so in the real practice, so there are some people they try to create regression model to predict even the stock market. This is also one kind of regression model currently. So this is some basic model of the machine learning. And currently, when you try to check some research or maybe some application nowadays, they move from the machine learning to deep learning. Even the idea is very similar. However, deep learning is a different with machine learning, and this is also a subset of machine learning. And then they try to learn unsupervised and also the unstructured or unlabeled data. And here is a figure to show the structure of the deep learning. And then the next slide, I want to see to show you a difference. So here on the left side is the traditional neural network, and then we can count it as machine learning. And in the right side is the deep neural networks. And for this one, why is this different? Why we use the deep here? Deep here means that because you have a lot of layers in the neural networks, and then with a lot of layers, so it can help you to generate a better performance. And this is the advantages of deep learning. And why we need why deep learning become popular nowadays. And what makes the differences in the big data. Now currently we are in the big data era, and that's why when you try to use the deep learning, maybe the performance is better. So from this figure, you can see if you use some older learning algorithms, and this is the amount of data. So if you have a few amounts of data, so you can see the performance of the older learning algorithms, and also the deep learning is very similar. However, if you have the big data, the performance of deep learning may be improved. Actually, it can improve a lot if you have the big data, and because now there are a lot of data in around the world. So that's why many people they try to use deep learning to improve any problems. And this is similar in the bioinformatics in genomics. So because we have a lot of data, so now many people they prefer to use deep learning and to improve the performance of some traditional problem. And this one is the last branch of machine learning. Just have an overview. So natural language processing. This is also a technology to add computers to understand the human natural language. And for example, some small applications of the NLP, you can hear, for example, the Google Translate, or also the Microsoft Word. So you can see they can help you to check grammatical accuracy of the text, check the grammar, and also like the personal assistant applications, like you use the computer, you have Google, Siri, Cortana. So all of them are applications of the NLP in AI. Okay, so here I just have one slide to share some public resources for all of you when you try to do for to find some data sets for machine learning. Actually, it is a resource, and then it includes the data from a variety of fields, and then you can try to collect from like the UCL, the Google, and also the Kaggle. It is it opened a lot of challenge for all of the people. They try to freely access to the data set and try the model. Okay, so this is the first content for the lecture today. I want to introduce you. So just an overview about the AI. So what is the different branch and some examples of AI. So to try to give you how I understand how AI can work. And now move on detail on the AI in bioinformatics. And I try to show you how AI can apply in bioinformatics. So this is another story. And here, so Okay, so bioinformatics. So I remember, so Dr. Lalu already mentioned about bioinformatics, also the genomics data. And so here I just try to re-mention about bioinformatics again. Actually, when you hear about bioinformatics, it can contain a different, maybe if it's a combination of different fields like computer science, like biology, also mathematics, also the statistics, and then a little bit for each field, so they can combine and then they can we can call this bioinformatics, and that's why many people from different fields, so maybe they can try to move to bioinformatics to generate some study related to bioinformatics. And there are some, actually in bioinformatics, also some different branches like sequence analysis, like the gene and also the protein expression, and also like the structural bioinformatics, like the docking, also the virtual streaming, and also network and system biology. And actually for all of the branches here, we can apply AI. However, the time is limited, so I try to focus on the first one, the sequence analysis, which is the one that I tried some study apply AI in sequence analysis. So I try to go very detailed on this one. And for all of the AI models later, also I try to use in the sequence analysis, like focus on the DNA sequencing, also the protein sequencing. And here is the core idea of the DNA sequence, and then how we can apply the AI in the DNA sequence. So as if you work in the biology field, cell biology, you know about the DNA sequence. Actually, it is like it is a language of life, and then it contains a lot of nucleotides. It is a combinations of four different nucleotides like the A, T, G, and C, and then all of them combined together we call a genome. And for each human has different in their DNA sequence, and that makes the difference. And for example, like this one, you can see this is the two DNA sequence from two different people. For example, here you can see there's some difference from here. So C become to A here, and maybe, for example, this one, if this DNA sequence maybe try to divide the hair. So for example, this one I assume that this was the people got black hair, and also maybe this one maybe a different color in their hair. So that one is produce the different results in the DNA sequences. And here the AI in bioinformatics in sequence analysis try to identify the information from the DNA sequence. And why we need to apply AI in this sequence? So the first reason is that as you know about DNA sequence is 3.2 billion letters interact together, and so this is a large topic of research, and also this is a big data, and there is no way a single person can interpret such a language, and that's why the computer of computers coming, and that's why now many people they try to use the AI to understand such kind of language. And here also another reasons you can see from this chart, the cost per human genome. So you can see it decreased a lot. It decreased, for example, if you go back to about maybe 20 years ago, so you can see the cost for a human genome is very high, very costly. However, now even you can see less than $1,000, so you can get a human genome, and then you can get a lot of genomics data, and then with a lot of genomics data, so you can use this and then apply the AI model on such kind of data. Okay, so here is so after I try to try to give you some overview about AI in bioinformatics. So here is an example of AI in bioinformatics that can help you easy to understand about how they can work. And here is the single nucleotide variations of S and V. So you can see this is the normal DNA sequence, and then you can see there is a difference here. So for example, the A here already be changed to C, and for this one we call the S and V single nucleotide variations. And then for this one, and this one is also another story. So you can see you have the CAT here, however there is one insertion here, and the insertion here is also a change we call a variation in the DNA sequence. And the idea of the So now, currently, so to know about the single nucleotide variation as well as the insertion, also the deletion, so you try to use some wet lab experiments. However, now if the AI can learn that DNA sequence, and then they try to know which part are variations, so this is also play a very important role in trying to detect some human disease and with the high accuracy, and also the time. So the time consuming is less time consuming in this model. So this is an example about the variation. And also another simple, very simple, simple example is that you can see from this figure, for example, you want to identify the function of some genes and traditional. So for the traditional techniques, so you can see there are some, you need to perform some wet lab experiments. And then, for example, you try to insert a null gene, and then you use some wet lab experiments, and then you get the gene which functions, right? However, currently many people, they move to the AI. So for example, one unknown gene, and now they just want to use the AI models, and then the results actually similar to the wet lab techniques. So you have the gene with some functions, and this is the idea of the AI applied into the bioinformatics or genomics data. For example, here, so you remember last time I already mentioned about the binary classification to classify between, for example, diabetes or non-diabetes, right? And here, if we apply into the bioinformatics data, so for example, here the problem is the protein function prediction. So in case you have a protein function, the protein sequence, and then you try to put into models, and then you want to classify whether this protein belongs to function A or function non-A. So for this one, we call the binary classification, right? So this one is very similar to the previous one about the diabetes or non-diabetes, how you can create machine learning models on that one. Okay, and then similar to the way how you can build the model, for example, still continue with the previous example about the protein function prediction and how you can build that model. So and to build that model, actually you need the training data. So training data is all of the protein sequence belong to function A and function non-A, and then you try to learn that one, and then you generate the models. And finally, in case you have one protein sequence or one gene sequence, and then the sequence go inside the predictive model, and finally you can have the prediction. The prediction is according to the information that you can learn from the previous informations. And for this one, this is a flowchart of how you can apply the proteins, the AI into bioinformatics, and then especially for the protein sequence, try to predict the function of proteins. And for this one is a binary classification, means that the proteins, we just want to predict whether it has this function or not in the future. So you can even use the multi-classification, means you try to classify many functions of the proteins in only one protein sequence. And here, so after I already showed you about how we can generate a problem, and now the problem, the second problem is that how the computer can reach the sequences. For example, here, so if you try to insert, so mostly the computer did not understand such kind of sequence informations. So for this one, the computer cannot be learn the sequence, and how you can let the computer learn the sequence informations, and maybe this one you need to transform the sequence into the vectors just look like this one, and then for this one can have the it can have the machine, can have the computer to learn such informations. And there are many ways how you can represent the sequences and then try to convert it into the vector. So I try to list some examples here for all of you who want to conduct some research in sequences. And here, as you know, this one is a sequence, so I just want to skip this one. Okay, so this is one of the flowchart, for example, a protein sequence. So first step, we call the feature extraction. And then for the next one, we move to this one is the machine learning. Means that after you extract the information from the sequence, you need to go to the machine learning, and then finally you can get the outcomes. And for the machine learning, so I don't want to go very detailed on all of the machine learning algorithms here, and I just want to show you some examples, some very basic example of how you can get the features from the protein sequence. For example, here you can see you can even try to calculate the amino acids appears in the sequence, like the composition of amino acid or frequency of amino acids. For example, here in this sequence, if I give you this sequence, and then how you can make the sequence looks like understandable for the computer. And here, for example, A here, you know the A about 40%, and maybe R for 30%, this one 20%, and here is the 10%. And then for this one, you just try to calculate the frequency, and then you can see, for example, A become to 0.4, and for this one, you insert directly into the computer, and the computer can learn that information. And also, this is similar. So besides, in addition to the only single amino acid, you can even use two the amino acids together and then try to generate the frequency. This is very similar. And for this one, you can also convert from the sequence into a vector. And so also, if you are you work in molecular biology, you know about the motif, so you know about the functions. So there are some functions that contain some motifs, so you can even use some motif informations, and then you can use it to insert into the model, and then the model can learn that motif and then produce the results for you. And finally, so this one, as I mentioned about the natural language processing, the NLP. For example, here I try to explain a little bit about the NLP. The NLP means that you try to work with the language, the word or the sentence. So you can see here, for example, you have one word, medical here, and then how the NLP can learn the information. They try to break down into different gram levels. For example, for 1 gram, which means one word, and then for 2 gram, it's a 2 word continuous. And then here is the 3 words continuously, and after that they can learn the information. And here, so in case you want to apply the NLP in the bioinformatics in DNA sequence, so you can try to treat the DNA sequence as a sentence, and then you can see if, for example, here you use the 1 gram and then 1 nucleotide, and then here is 2 nucleotides, and here is 3 nucleotides continuously. So this is very similar to the natural language. And for this one, you can even apply the NLP into the DNA sequence or protein sequence or all of the others bioinformatics data. Okay, so this is, I already give you an overview about the AI and also the bioinformatics. So, and then the final content for the talk today, I just want to have a briefly introduction on some of the how you can generate AI-based bioinformatics paper, also the AI-based genomics paper about this one. For example, when you hear about the paper, so first one, you need to identify there's two things. The first one is the which problem and which data will be solved. And for example, which problem means that you can even generate a novel problem, or you can even solve an old problem. So there are 2 cases still okay. And then after the problem, you need to identify which methodology, and the methodology, it means you can generate a new method, or you can even generate a new methods in this field. Means that there are some methods and then they already apply into different data, and now you want to apply into bioinformatics data, and for this one is the new methods in this field, or even you can also apply in traditional method to solve that problem. And for all of the scenario here, so you can even generate a bioinformatics research study or paper. And so this one I also want to share some of the informations and the step by step. For example, here the data collection. So try to collect the data for the bioinformatics, also the extract the features, just like I already mentioned before. The feature learning here is for the machine learning. So this one is a machine learning, this one is a feature, this one is data, and the last one you can have the model. And this is finally all of the structure, the bioinformatics paper. And And here are some of the data that you can try to collect. For example, if you, in case you want to generate a problem, you can try to retrieve the data like the UniPro, like the NCDA, also the TCGA, or you can even collect from the previous publications. So that can help you to get a lot of data in bioinformatics. And also, even you want to deal with an old problem, so you can even collect data from the previous publications. And then remember, so here just another step is for the sequence identity. So try to reprocess the sequence data. Here is the data. And then, so after that, you about the feature instructions, so try to identify which features will be extract, and also try to use the feature selection. And this is also another, this is the second step that I try to propose in the flowchart. And then later, so after you extract the features, like I mentioned, you can try to use machine learning. You can try to decide which models you use, like machine learning, and also the deep learning, or also the natural language processing. So this is up to you. You can even try to propose new models that can learn that data. And also, finally, so you can even try to release some models and for front-end users like the source code and also the web server. And that is all of the steps of how you can create an AI in bioinformatics paper. And yes, okay. So, and this is so after this step, so you can have the full study and also the all of the information necessary for the paper. And also, actually, I still, the data about the data visualizations, actually, I try to skip here. This one, I just want to keep additional. Later, I also try to share with you. However, the last content, so this is the last content. Because we don't have much time for this one. Okay, the last content for this one. So in case you want to, actually, because I just want to give you an overview about the AI in bioinformatics. So in the future, so if you want to discover all of the models, how you can extract the features, as well as how you can try to create some machine learning models in bioinformatics, so you can even try to assess. So this one, I also open a course in the future learn from the TeamU platform. And then this is open freely for all of you. If you want to learn more about the AI in bioinformatics, so you can try to register and then try to learn. So this is only a 3 weeks courses. So this is just for promotions. And from with this slide, so I try to stop the talk today. So this is try to let Q&A sessions for all of you. So if you want to have some questions related to my talk, so just please raise and then try to ask. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Khanh. So the previous slide is the course provided by TMU, Doctor. It's like MOOCs.
Yeah, this is okay. Wait, this is the MOOCs course from TMU.
Oh, okay. So actually, we have collaborations between the TMU and our university, and we try to connect it for the MOOCs program. So I think for the next semester, that's possible. I think we can share to all our students.
Yes,
in futures.
It is a new course just opened from the May.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Khanh. So, actually, the bioinformatics and especially artificial intelligence is really new. Actually, in not only in our university but also in our country, Doctor, because mostly that our clinicians and also because all of us here is our premises, Doctor. Yeah. So, actually, we are mostly concerned in the clinic. So why I said that the bioinformatics and also the artificial intelligence is really new. But however, that we know that outside or abroad country is abroad Indonesia, I think the bioinformatics and also artificial intelligence nowadays is really advanced, right? So all I think all the even that in the medicines, even that in the all area right now is try to connect it between all the field, including the artificial intelligence and so bioinformatics, right? Okay, so we will open for the Q&A sessions. I think whether there is any questions from our audiences or from students, even that from our lecturer, because some of our lecturer or some of the doctor and also professor here is that joining our guest lecture today.
Okay, so welcome any questions and discussions. Feel free to ask some questions.
Okay. Monggo Bapak Ibu kalau ada pertanyaan nggak apa-apa disampaikan bahasa Indonesia juga nanti saya translate ke English. Hello students, is there any questions?
Just don't hesitate to ask some questions, no problem.
Okay, yeah.
Lalu Irham.
Oh iya, Prof Dia. Monggo Prof Dia. Langsung disampaikan saja, Prof.
Good morning, Dr. Khanh.
Yes.
My name is Dia. I'm a teacher here, and I'm interested about the MOOCs program, which you already put it in your slide.
Yes.
Which students can follow this MOOCs program? I mean, whether this is the undergraduate or might be the master students or PhD students.
Okay, so thanks for your questions. Because this MOOCs course, we try to open the course for all of the students. So that's why I think so even the undergraduate student and our graduate students, so they can even join the course, because this is a basic course. So for all of the students who don't have any knowledge in AI, so can learn about the AI or even the bio from this. So if you don't have any background, so still no problem. So because this one I remember is a very basic one, so I try to learn a step by step how you can generate some AI models in bioinformatics.
Okay, thank you. So so this is the basic course, right?
Yes. Even you don't need any programming background to enter the course, so no programming.
Okay, and in English, I think.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. And the second question is related with the AI, because I also have an experience with the using the machine learning, but I use the orange machine learning for predicting the clinical data, Dr. Khanh.
Okay.
And but I think the variable is still related with the binary, right? It is similar with the AI in bioinformatics.
Yes, I think so.
So we have to translate it into the binary data.
So about your data, it is clinical data, right?
Yeah, because I have not any experience work with the gene data.
Yeah. I think, however, I think the clinical data is just one kind of structural data. Means that you already the data is like the data in Excel file, right? Yeah. I think for such kind of data, is actually it's even easier to apply the AI, because now you already have some variables, you already have features. So now you try to insert directly, so you can even don't need to transform. For example, in the gene data, you need to transform from the sequence into the features of variables. And however, the clinical data, you already have such variables, and then you can try to apply it directly, and you try to define so which is your outcome. For example, if you want to classify among between two classes, so you can use the binary classification, or you have many classes, so you can use the multi-classification.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. It's very interesting and amazing presentation. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So, Prof Dia, I think for AI in bioinformatics also that's really possible to connect it or between the variants we call the SNPs, right? So based on the SNP that we can predict it associated with the phenotype. So because Dr. Khanh, because I am, and also Professor Dia is working on the variations, kind of the SNPs. So
Okay.
but actually that is in the based on the clinic, I mean like genotyping by using the candidate gene approach, kind of that. So I think that's really interesting if we can predict thousands of SNPs that are associated with the kind of the phenotype.
Yes, I think
Using the AI.
Yeah. Or even so currently in the AI in genomics now apply into the SNP. So many people, they try to use the genotype information to predict the phenotype, right? And so if you have phenotype information, you can even predict from the genotype.
Okay, Dr. Khanh, but I think you have a lot of experience, even that you have published many papers, and also, of course, you will have many experience during the peer review, right, about the predictions, because the EI and also bioinformatics is the stages in the predictions, right? For example, the genes that we predict associated with some of the phenotypes. So how that the validations in this kind of the predictions we call the wet lab, right? So kind of the is this contradictions, or the kind of the we call the integrations between we can integrate it between the AI and also the wet lab.
Yes, I think this is a very important point currently because if you want to generate a very comprehensive study, so you need to combine together. You need to combine between the dry lab and wet lab, right? However, as I know, in some current bioinformatics studies, so when they want to validate, so if they cannot conduct some wet lab experiments, so they try to validate using the dry lab, means that they try to validate the performance of the models on different data. I mean, they already released some data, and then they want to see whether their model can learn different data or not. So for such kind of variation, they still can be acceptable. However, so as you mentioned, it's very important. It is better if you can have a wet lab experiment to validate the performance.
Okay, that's right. That's right. Yes, because nowadays that we know that I think really we have big data, right? So we can predict it first, and then we can validate by using the wet lab. So I think for the informations for our students, I think in our country actually it's not common. We call the wet lab. Wet lab is kind of the doing experiment in the lab. I think
I know.
Most information for our students, because I think we are very common to call the dry lab and also wet lab. We know that dry lab is we actually using the computerized kind of that.
Yes.
So is there any questions from other audiences that? Halo Bapak Ibu, monggo kalau ada pertanyaan.
I'm still curious about the data in our lab, Dr. Lalu and Dr. Khanh. Maybe I can a little bit explain about the data. For example, we have a clinical data of diabetes type 2 patients, and then, for example, we have 100 or maybe 200 data. We have also some SNPs, some genes. I think Dr. Lalu also recognized the genes, for example, KCN, CYP2C19, and also the one is TCF or something, which is the students still working with that. And then after that, just give me an description. So what can we do with that data? What can we predict? Other SNPs or what? Can you get my point of questions?
Ini ya Prof, sudah ditemukan ya asosiasinya Prof? it's already the genes is already associated based on the candidate gene approach, right?
Yeah, we have 3 genes. For
Okay.
example,
So
we
I
already
think,
3 genes in clinical data, and then what can we do with the data to predict other SNPs or predict the other clinical outcome?
okay. So Dr. Khan's Professor Dia concerns about because we have data in our lab that the three genes that we found associated with the diabetes. So is there any possibility to applying the EI or in bioinformatic approach to predicts whether these 3 genes also associated with the other phenotype or also some of the variants that associated with the diabetes? I think we actually have experience to do this kind of study, right? In
Oh yes, yeah. I think this is also very good questions. About so you already have some genes, and then you want to know is there any some variants related to like the diabetes patients, right? And I think when you first one, when you hear about the AI model, so the AI can develop any kinds of model. However, so how you can develop the model? So actually, you need data. I mean, the data that already be trained, already be labeled. For example, you already know some variants related to the diabetes patients. Actually, this is not on your genes. You can use from the genes from the others. However, they already proved that whether there are some variants related to diabetes patients, and then you try to leave that data to the computer, and then they try to learn, such variants maybe belong to the diabetes patients. And after you generate the model, and then it is assumed that this is trained well, and then you can apply into your data. After that, they can try to learn your data and then to try to give the results for you that whether in your genes there are some variants related to the diabetes patient or not. So that's why I mentioned the labels more important. So you must label the data first, and the computer can learn and then try to generate the outcomes for you.
Okay. Okay, that's possible, Professor Dia. I think Professor Dia interested to collaborate with Dr. Khanh.
Yeah, I think this is possible. I think this is possible.
Oke, Prof, dia ini sebenarnya potensial sekali, Prof. Jadi selama ini kan kita kalau mau melakukan penelitian di Indonesia itu kan umumnya kita menggunakan gen yang sudah tervalidasi oleh penelitian yang lain. Artinya novelty-nya itu sangat kurang, Prof. Nah, Prof Khanh ini rata-rata beliau kemudian mengenerate gen atau bahkan variasi gen atau SNP study itu. Nah, ini betul-betul baru, Prof, betul novelty, dan itu yang kita uji pada klinis gitu ya, Prof. Nah, umumnya kita sama Prof Khanh ini kami ada beberapa kolaborasi sama beliau dengan profesor yang lain itu. Beliau memprovidekan SNP misalnya berapa ratus atau berapa ribu SNP, dan itu yang kita uji pada pasien kita gitu, Prof. Nah, ini kan novelty-nya itu lebih tinggi gitu, Prof. Dan kalau misalnya beliau ingin kolaborasi seperti ini, saya kira ini sangat bagus, Prof, ke depannya gitu.
Tapi datasetnya itu udah ada duluan ya, artinya dia udah buat duluan dataset yang sudah tersedia toh.
Yeah.
Artinya yang untuk mengenerate SNP itu dia pakai dataset yang udah ada, bukan data kita toh.
Bukan data kita, Prof, sebenarnya. Makanya prediksinya dari model-model yang beliau pakai big data, Prof.
Iya,
Baru kemudian nanti
yang kita nggak punya itu kan data yang sudah tersedia.
Tapi juga bisa juga sebenarnya beliau kemudian memulainya nanti apakah gen yang sudah tervalidasi, yang sudah kita temukan itu juga tervalidasi based on the EI and bioinformatic based approach ini, Prof. Possible juga itu. Saling menguatkan kan akhirnya gitu.
Iya. Iya, nanti mungkin ini butuh diskusi, artinya kaitannya dengan aplikasinya dengan data yang sudah kita punya itu kan ya, Mas.
Iya, Prof.
Yeah.
So Dr. Khanh, I apologize that we discuss in Indonesia, so
Yeah,
So
no problem, no
yeah,
problem.
we find it that it's the EI and bioinformatics. This approach is really interesting, and
Yes.
it's applicable for combining between the clinic and also the
Yes.
dry lab. I mean the wet lab and dry labs.
Yes.
So if it is possible for the future, I think we can collaborate also with Professor Dia. Professor Dia has a lot of the samples in Indonesia, Dr. Khan.
Yes, I think the most important thing of the AI model is the data. So if you have a lot of data, so I think we can have some studies. So we can generate some studies. We can use some AI models to analyze that data and then generate some outcomes. For sure, I think so. Yeah. So welcome any collaboration. So very happy to do that. Yeah.
So thank you, Dr. Khan. May I get your email? Then maybe I can discuss it later by email.
Yes. So can you use?
Yeah.
Can you get the email from here?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, you can use that email.
Wait. Okay, thank you.
Okay, the other questions, Dr. Khan's is from, I think it's from our students in the book chat that he asking about the, is there any possibility that in the future bioinformatics scientists will leave the wet labs method completely and use AI all at once, even the validations part? Is it when I got this kind of questions, I really think that if we go we go anywhere by flight without pilots, it is it possible? That I think it's not really possible. But what is your answer about this kind of the question?
Yeah, I think this is also a good point. Currently, so to say about is it possible or not, so for me, I also say it is impossible. So it is impossible to replace the wet lab. Even so, you know about some of the people. So like all of you work in the clinical field, so you prefer to do some wet lab experiments, and then maybe you believe that the results from the wet lab experiments more correctly than the bioinformatics analysis, right? So that's why even in the future, I think if you can try to use the AI, you can try to implement AI model, and you even reach the best performance. So let's say about even 100% accuracy. So actually, they still don't believe that the results is as perfect as you can do. However, they want to do some wet lab experiments to verify the results. So that's why I think, at least in the near future, to AI replace the wet lab experiments, I think is still impossible. However, we try to still wait to see whether the future looks like. Currently, I say it is maybe impossible in the near future.
Okay.
To combine together.
Okay, that's right. So Mas Zulfikar Aditama, Dr. Khan already answered your questions that is it's not impossible because each of them are together integrated between each of them, right? So is there any questions from other audiences? Okay, Zulfikar already responded. Yes, thank you. So is there any questions from others? Atau Bapak Ibu atau Bu Susan? Okay, from our other lecturers, he asking about how about implementation how about implementations of ER and bioinformatics in clinical care in the hospitals, maybe in your country or your hospitals. Maybe you have experience in Vietnam or in Singapore, Professor Kans, about how that the EI is there any possibility to the to application in the clinical area?
Okay, about the implementation of AI in bioinformatics in the clinical care, I think this one is I just have some experience to actually just try to create some applications that can be applied in some in hospital. However, just still in progress. And to talk about AI in bioinformatics that can be applied, this is I think this is another story because first of all, you know about the price for genomic data. I think this is very costly about the genomics data when you want to. For example, one patient who go to the hospital, and then you try to take you want to perform some gene testing, and then you want to get the genomics data from patients. After that, you try to analyze the data, right? I think this one is very costly, and currently, so in case you already have the genomics information, so you even don't need some AI. You can there are some people they can try to analyze such kind of data. So I think this is currently so apply AI in bioinformatics in the clinical care. I think they still long story. However, currently, so I just have some experience on how to apply AI in healthcare. So AI in healthcare, I think there's a lot of applications right now. For example, you try to analyze the genomics, so you can even try to analyze the genomic data. You can predict the genomics from the some image data, like medical image. So you can try to have some image from the patients, right? And then you try to predict some genotype and also the phenotype. So I think such application now they use a lot in some of the hospital. So just analyze the very more even easier data like the image data. However, the genomics data I think now is still difficult.
Oke, gitu Bu Putri. It's still long story, but
Yeah.
it is possible in the future. However, nowadays that the EI and bioinformatics is still in the research area, I think.
Yeah, yes, not just in the research area and in applications nowadays. So I hope that in the near future there are many more applications about AI bioinformatics.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Khanh. So, is there any questions from the others audience? Atau Bapak Ibu dosen yang lain? Bu Putri, ini kita sampai jam berapa, Bu?
Bisa sampai jam 11 kayaknya ya, atau
Oke. Bu Susan, mungkin ada yang ingin disampaikan, Bu Susan?
Belum ada, Pak Lalu.
Ada ya. Terus dosen yang lain gimana? Ada tanggapan nggak? Is there any response from others lecturer?
No, mungkin saya sedikit aja Pak, aku tambahan.
Gimana Bu Susan?
Ya, mungkin ada sedikit tambahan, mungkin komen apa ya terkait kuliah ini, mau ingin disampaikan ke Prof. Khanh. Okay, Dr. Khanh, I think this lecture is very interesting for me because maybe this is a new the application of artificial intelligence or the bioinformatics is a new knowledge for me, and thank you very much for the information about the bioinformatics, especially in the beginning.
Okay, so that is response from our lecturer, Dr. Khanh.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so actually we are trying to open some of the course in the future, for the bioinformatics in our programs, Dr. Khanh, because that I said before that actually for the bioinformatics is really new in our field, in the pharmacy field. But however, in the future we will provide this kind of a course.
Okay, this is also an interesting course nowadays.
Yeah, Dr. Khanh, from me, I'm interesting if to follow a course if you have about how to analyze, but this is a direct practice, not only the theoretical, because if we do the practice, maybe you have an online workshop, not the basic course, then we can have a description about how to running the data. I think that's from me. Thank you very much.
Okay. Yeah, because for the mock course, so the time for the mock course just about, maybe I remember, about 3 weeks. So that's why maybe we cannot provide all of the contents related to the theoretical parts. However, if we opened a full course, for example, for whole semester about bioinformatics, I think so we can provide from the theoretical, also the practical, and also we can have a lot of things in that course.
Siapa Bu? Mbak Ida Nur? Mbak Ida Nur, you want to ask me question? Halo, Mbak Ida. Ada yang raise hand tadi. Halo, Mbak Ida. Okay. Is there any questions from students? Hello? So I think if we don't have another questions, can we take photo together, Dr. Khanh?
Yes.
In our documentation. So I'm sorry, can you stop share screen first? Yeah. Okay. So please open the camera for all the students and also audiences, so we can see your face. Okay. Please, all students, kindly open your camera, because now Indonesia is the cases is really dangerous, actually, Dr. Khanh. So
really?
all of our students right now is work from home.
Oh, okay.
So you know that the cases rise every day.
Oh, rise every day.
Last
how
day,
many cases every day?
more than 50,000 per day.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, #1 in the world.
Wow.
So please open camera for all the students, because this will be our documentations for our program. So okay, Bu Putri, are you ready to take picture for us? Okay, good. You count it 1, 2, 3.
Ya, oke. Page 1 ya, sebentar.
Okay.
Oke. Oke, untuk yang page 2 sebentar.
Page 2. Page 1 already, so page 2 now.
Page 2, oke. Page 3, ternyata banyak, ada 9. Sebentar ya.
Okay, we have 9 pages because all the audience is more than 200.
Yes.
So all the all the audience right now is from undergraduates and also postgraduates. We had postgraduate.
So on the students just from only one department?
Yeah, one department, but we have 3 programs. First is bachelor, second is professional programs, and the third is master program.
Yeah. A lot of students, yeah.
Actually, we have around more than 1,000 of students.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. Your school attract a lot of students.
Yes, thank you very much for your lecture today. So is there any kind of the simple word or short word from Ibu Susan as the representative of the lecture before we're going to close our guest lecture today?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Lalu. Thank you very much for Dr. Khanh for the lecture today. I think it's very interesting for me, and this is very like open my mind or my knowledge about the bioinformatics, especially in the genome. Thank you very much, Dr. Khanh.
Okay, you're welcome. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you all of you too for attending today.
Thank you, Dr. Khanh. So how about Dr. Khanh? Is there any words or any messages to our students and also to our lecturer?
Actually, no. Just thank you. Just thank a lot for your attention for today, and also welcome all of you to join to my course as well as to join to Team U in the future, and then to share some experiments as well as some discussion. And also, I'm always happy to have more collaboration, especially in your country and also in your school. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Khanh. So, is there any possibility in the future if you have in your programs in EI programs, if it is like workshop or seminar that our students can attend it, so kindly give us the informations.
Yeah. So if we have some informations, I try to share with you.
Okay, thank you very much. So please prepare yourselves, all the students here, if you are interested to join Dr. Khan's course. We will actually we will provide the informations in the future about the MOOCs programs because we have collaborations, as I said before, Doctor. So how about Professor Dia? Is there any words for before we are going to leave our guest lecture today? Professor Dia, nggak ada ya? Udah pergi kayaknya. How about Bu Putri? Is there any comment, Bu Putri?
Sudah, Pak. Thank you, Dr. Khanh. Yeah.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Khanh. So this was, we have around 1.5 hours to give the knowledge to our students. So it's really new for us. So I think for the futures, it will continue. I think if you have times, or you can also give us the kind of the workshops step by step to doing the EI in bioinformatics approach. So thank you once again, and thank you to the our lecturer here and also to all our students. Hopefully that you are safety and healthy in Indonesia especially, and wherever you are now. And we close by recite the hamdalah, alhamdulillahirabbil alamin, assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and good afternoon. So thank you very much, Dr. Khanh. So you can leave. So see you once again, Dr. Khanh. I will see you on your office before I'm going to leave Taiwan.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, Dr. Khanh, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Makasih Pak Lalu.
Makasih Bu Susan, monggo. Makasih Bu.
Makasih Pak Lalu. Makasih Bapak Ibu.
Pak Lalu ini
gimana Bu Susan?